Hello, my name is Brendan Lewis, and for my research study, I decided to come up with an NIL process for Shepherd University. First, I want to talk about a little bit of the overview of name, image, and likeness in college sports nowadays. In the summer of 2021, the NCAA legalized name, image, and likeness (NIL) deals for college athletes. Within the college sports world, NIL has taken over. It has created somewhat of a business in college sports because students are allowed to get money through endorsements and sponsorships and stuff like that to take away all their expenses. Since legalizing it, it has affected recruiting, transfer portal, team chemistry, and so much more. In the Power 5 schools in Division 1, which include SEC, ACC, Big 10, and Big 12, and even the Pac 12, it has created a very big gap between smaller schools across America due to the money being raised for these NIL deals because Division II schools like Shepherd can't even keep up. In 2024, to dive deeper into those Power 5 schools in Division 1, the most NIL deals for their athletes came from University of Florida, University of Texas, and Ohio State University. For Florida, they had 498 deals across 19 teams. And at Texas, they had 367 NIL deals across 21 teams. And Ohio State had about 286 NIL deals across 33 varsity programs. Here at Shepherd, we only have 16, so a smaller amount of NIL money would go a long way. Next, I want to talk about the purpose and the background of the study. Why does the Shepherd Athletic Department need an NIL process in place for their business owners and student athletes? And what would be the biggest benefit from developing one? It may not be big Division I school type of money, but it can positively impact the way coaches recruit here at Shepherd and at other Division II schools across America. Creating a set process for an athletic department can lead to more opportunities, not only for themselves, but for the student athletes here on campus. Next, having an NIL collective or initiative allows Shepherd to compete amongst other heavily funded Division II schools, which could include other Pennsylvania State Athletic Conferences in the PSAC and in Pennsylvania in our conference right now. If Shepherd can create something at a smaller scale, NIL funding would increase and community engagement would also increase. At any Division II level, athletes have often had closer ties to the community, which allows them to connect with local and regional businesses around the country. Having a set NIL collective process will allow local donors to feel more comfortable and confident when being asked to donate money. Before this study, I've talked about to many people, especially in the Division II scale, what to do to raise NIL money because they're so used to just raising money for scholarships. A lot of people have a lot of question marks because it's not a lot of corporate sponsorships around Division II. And having a set process would be a lot easier, and a lot of business owners would feel more comfortable donating money if there was one set process. Alrighty, to get to the bulk of the research study, let's get into the literature review. First, let's talk about the sources of NIL money. Collegiate student athletes legally can now earn money through endorsements, sponsorships, and social media marketing platforms. An endorsement is a form of sponsorship, typically refers to the brand aligning commercially with an individual, such as a college student athlete, rather than an entire organization to conduct the marketing activities. Businesses should also want to engage and connect with the athletes who may have similar interests or traits that the company provides. A good example of this would be if a football player were to connect with a certain business that sold a lot of football equipment. That would be an easy tie in philosophies and characteristics between the business and the student athlete. These NIL deals can go towards saving money or even managing expenses while being in school. Sources of NIL money continued. Some other sources of NIL money can come from small and local businesses in the area. Examples would be ice cream shops, pizza shops, roofing companies, banks, and auto shops around the country. Having these small businesses as NIL partners feels more personal because many of them are local fans. Lastly, the newer concept of NIL efforts includes creating an NIL collective or NIL fund. For this, that's when athletic departments have groups that gather donations from fans, alumni, and other people to support athletes across more than just one sport. It is more to connect with fans and athletes financially without endorsing just to one specific person. Next, in our literature review, we'll talk about how student athletes have brand strategies and how they can create a brand for themselves creatively. Small schools can set up monthly or annually meet and greets to create a bigger brand for each and every student athlete on campus. Another creative strategy would be having local restaurants host autograph sessions to connect with the local community. Here around Shepherd's campus, you could use Captain Bender's Tavern here in Sharpsburg, Maryland, or even King's Pizza here right in town in Shepherdstown, West Virginia. With the increased usage of social media in today's world, any athlete can partner with a certain brand that may have similar interest with. Lastly, athletic departments can partner with a certain merchandise brand and be able to sell gear with the athletes' names on them. For every sale, the student athlete will earn a certain amount, and this initiative allows athletes to capitalize on their own personal brand while generating additional revenue for their product sales. Next, who is actually capitalizing the most from NIL deals right now? And as much as you would expect, in a research study that I've found with the top 100 high school and collegiate athletes receiving NIL deals, it provided us with the answers we probably knew. 68% of these athletes were black, 94% were male, and 76% played football. And football players and football programs are the most revenue-generating programs at each college school in America. What are the pros of NIL deals? These can include allowing athletes to establish their own brand, like I've mentioned before. For those who don't play professionally, they can maximize their prime of their careers by earning money and endorsements while they're still in school. So, like an athlete like myself here at Shepherd University, I know I'm not going to play it professionally, but if I had NIL money to make money now while I play the sport, that is what would be the major pro of an NIL deal. Next, it can result in personal, economic, and responsibility growth for young adults who would need these characteristics in the near future. Next, what are the cons of NIL deals? There's not many because a lot of student athletes are working really hard to benefit off them. But there is a couple. Creating a bigger gap between Division I and Division II schools because Division II schools have a lack of funding. Like I mentioned early on in this presentation, Division II schools kind of work off of community engagement, where Division I schools have corporate sponsors that can pay a lot more money to their student athletes. It has created a bidding war culture in recruiting all over the NCAA. A lot of external donors think they can outbid other Power 5 schools to accept the higher and higher recruits that come in and out each year. Next, I was able to find Shepherd's current fundraising status. I was able to have some email conversations with Tim Ziegler here, the director of fundraising here at Shepherd. Between women's and men's sports opportunities here at Shepherd, there are 16 total varsity teams. With what Tim provided to me, within the last 2 years, Shepherd Athletic Department has raised an average of $167,024.92 per year. And a bulk of that went towards the fundraising efforts for the Sarah and Alan Luke scoreboard project. Away from that, the majority of the rest of the fundraised money came on 2 separate campaigns, the Thankful to be a Ram campaign, which came in the fall, and the Day of Giving campaign, which comes here in the spring. Next, we have our data collection. First, I want to talk about some fundraising strategies that Division II schools can use to get into an NIL process. To have an effective fundraiser, coaches need to be involved because they know what the needs of the team are. Certain coaches may want to have a facility upgrade, maybe gear upgrade, or even food and beverage upgrades around the stadium. A great strategy for student athletes would be to share stories and create a deeper connection with their donors. An example could be having personalized phone calls after each donor has a donation. And this would have a positive effect because an interaction between athlete off the field shows that they're people too. Donors can be effective to athletic departments by using word of mouth to other locals and that would be willing to give money to these athletes. So that's why the loyal donor base that you have now is so important because you need to show them such a great time around these athletic events so they can use word of mouth to expand that donor base. Another necessity for Division II schools would be having a strategic plan. Many athletic departments should start with an annual fund and mix it with their special and big projects, and then mix that with the booster club for their scholarships. Lastly, educating and informing and engaging with these donors as much as possible as it is a necessity. This can start right when they arrive on campus, or it could be later down the road after they've made donations. It is very, very important to explain the purpose of every fundraiser to all stakeholders and donors each year. To continue off that, the second part of our data that we were finding is developing a Google form. Having a simple tool to collect NIL forms for donors can go a long way for Shepherd's NIL efforts. Google Forms have been proven to be very easy, very speedy, very accurate, and is free of cost to use. They also are very user-friendly, and there's plenty of flexibility to form different types of questions, whether it is a list of questions, A, B, C questions, true, false questions, single answer questions, and anything that you can name. All right, the data analysis. After collecting data on effective fundraising strategies, like I just mentioned for Division II schools, and creating an efficient and simple Google form document, there are many ways that Shepherd can form an NIL process for their athletes. Keeping donors informed in the year's projects and what is going on with the department will also create a closer connection between the athletic department and all their loyal donors. Shepherd should include educating their donors on how valuable each gift is to the program, as well as setting up donor luncheons and donor dinners throughout the school year. Like I mentioned before, any donation to a Division II school is a much more valuable gift than just a small donation to a big Power 5 school. So every gift matters here. And those who have raised the most money, NIL money to their athletes, which would be part of the SEC and the Pac-12 and Division I schools, has directly been linked to higher recruiting levels. And that's where we want to be as a school here at Shepherd. They should also incorporate building their donor base by starting with all alumni and former student athletes. Lastly, creating a transparent document such as the Google form document that we created will be a win-win for the loyal donors and the student athletes here at Shepherd. Next, what are the limitations and barriers? First, we talk about the cost of donor incentives after donations. Those can include gift baskets and certain gear giveaways after certain donors give a gift to the athletic department. Next would be the human resources to collect and allocate this NIL money. Like I've said before, a lot of Division II athletic departments are very small, so everyone in the department has a lot on their plate, and they're doing a lot more work than at a bigger school. And if you can't have the human resources to actually manage this money, then it's going to be very, very tough. This kind of leads into the next point here, the athletic department NIL initiative effort. If the athletic department says that they're not really going to benefit from trying to raise NIL money, they're not going to put enough effort in to actually get this going. Next would be the local business engagement. If you can't get the local businesses on board, this NIL initiative is not going to go anywhere also. If they're already struggling to get local businesses to pay for scholarships, it may be a stretch to get to this NIL process. Next, what are recommendations for the future? For a school like Shepherd University to develop an NIL initiative, the following recommendations based on research findings are suggested. First, creating a strategic NIL collective fund for the department as a whole. Like I mentioned before, NIL funds or collectives is a group of people donating just cash into a certain pool, and then the athletic department is able to allocate that money out to various sports across the athletic department. Next, utilize the Google form for both scholarship and NIL donations. You can also use these Google forms for more data collections from other surveys that they can create. Next, increase the current community engagement for NIL fundraising efforts. What I've seen through the current fundraising efforts from Tim Ziegler, I feel like adding more community-involved events may result in more fundraising. Lastly, increasing the current coach and athletic director involvement for NIL efforts. Anyone in the athletic department, including coaches and donors and students, everyone around need to be an advocate for raising money for the athletic department for it to grow. In conclusion, Shepherd Athletics can significantly benefit from having a simple NIL collective for their athletes. Using the effective fundraising strategies listed will be a massive boost for an athletic department trying to compete in the NIL efforts for years. Larger schools have shown that the more donors and corporate sponsors they have, the more NIL money is flowing in. At this level, with a creative and strategic fundraising efforts, Shepherd can use their local partnerships to boost their NIL collective. Overall, the goal of developing and using an NIL process here at Shepherd is to assist these student athletes financially, which can result in professional relationships in the future. And here are my references. Thank you very much.